going to begin to take off and then fire, and it's caught. Touchdown, James Jones.
Roger, with time, down the sideline, has his man, Jordy Nelson. Nelson on his way.
2-minute warning here in Arlington, over the middle. Caught. Touchdown. Craig Jennings.
Last time. Now some pressure. Throws it deep. Jordy Nelson. He's got it inside the 20.
Well, let me be frank. That sucked. The Packers lose in overtime to the Indianapolis Colts in Indianapolis. This is a safe space. We've got a lot to talk about, and we will do just that over the course of the next 30 to 45 minutes. This is the Post-Red on Game On Wisconsin. I'm Alex Strouf. You can connect with me on Twitter at Alex_Strouf. I figured I'd break out the nice plaid hat because it's the gun opener here in Wisconsin. So good luck and stay safe to all the hunters out there. But we're going to get to football. We've got to get to this game because, frankly, the Packers offense wasn't on the field in the second half. They ran a total of 18 plays between the third, fourth quarter, and overtime. It was bad. The defense was out there pretty much exclusively. And the Colts did whatever they wanted to do. They were having a field day in the second half. It's inexcusable, it's unacceptable, and it's frankly what we've seen out of Green Bay the last few weeks. They're continuing to disappoint us, and maybe they're just not the contender we thought they were. We've been saying that for a few weeks, and unfortunately, that's where we're at, and that's what we saw today in Indianapolis. They looked awesome in the first half, 28 points, and then they just disappear and forget to come out of the locker room in the second half, at least on the offensive side of things. I want to get to some of your calls shortly. 877-878-7683 is the number to call in. Producer Kyle standing by to screen your calls and whatever you've got on your brain regarding the Packers' 34-31 loss in Indianapolis. Happy to make this a safe space for you. Happy to make this a good venting session if need be. Try to stay away from the swear words, but Bring the intensity, bring the enthusiasm, bring the energy, all you want. So that's our call-in line. Again, 877-878-7683. But there's a lot of things to get to, man. And those second-half troubles are definitely at the top of the list. The Packers scored 3 touchdowns in the second quarter before scoring 3 points in the entire second half and overtime. It was not good. A lot of bads coming out of this one. MVS, who's had a roller coaster of a season, obviously with that crucial fumble in overtime. And let me just say this surrounding Marquez Valdes-Scantling. Obviously, he fumbled, and the game did end up relying on that fumble for the Colts. That was ultimately what changed the game. However, you're also not in that game without Marquez Valdes-Scantling. In fact, let me double down. That's a blowout without Marquez Valdes-Scantling. So don't be giving him the Ty Montgomery, Brandon Bostic treatment. It happens. It sucks. It was bad. But you're not in that game without Marquez Valdes-Scantling. You're not. And, the sooner you realize that, I think we'll be able to break down this loss a little bit more strategic. We'll have a little bit more success in making sense of this loss if you are not the person who sits there and says, oh, Marquez Valdes-Scantling lost the game for the Green Bay Packers. No, he didn't. You're not in that game without Marquez Valdes-Scantling. So we'll stop it there before you call in and you're giving me all your takes on MVS. You didn't lose the game because of MVS. MVS kept you in that game. Darius Shepard is a guy I would understand some hatred towards today. I don't know, frankly, if Darius Shepard is on the roster tomorrow for the Green Bay Packers. I think Darius Shepard's got to go. He had a couple mistakes on the special team side of things. Obviously, that kick return fumble. A lot was not good. A lot was not good. Mike Pettin is going to continue to be a topic of conversation. I mean, when you have the second half breakdown that the Packers had, of course, you're going to probably start discussing whether or not you should keep your defensive coordinator. 20 points for the Colts in the third, fourth, and overtime combined, which, of course, is a lot more than the Packers' 3 points, and ultimately why they won the game. Colts looked good. That defense is good. And they had the Packers turning the ball over today. Aaron Rodgers threw an interception. Aaron Rodgers had a fumble. MVS had a fumble. The ball was getting turned over because Indianapolis is frankly one of the best defense in the league. And we have Bailey from Stevens Point on the line with us now to address some of those turnover issues. Hey, Bailey, how are you?
Hey, Alex. How about that game?
Not so fun, was it?
No, it was a tough watch. That was the true testament to being a Wisconsin sports fan right there. Just a roller coaster of emotions.
Yeah, no doubt about it. What do you got on the turnovers?
Well, I just want to know: are these guys practicing turnover drills in practice? Like, what? How does a professional sports team go about, practicing not turning the ball over?
Well, they play against, a very good defense, and it showed today. It was another disappointing performance in terms of turnovers. I mean, we don't talk about Aaron Rodgers turning the ball over ever, and this is the second or third game, I think second game this season, where we've really looked at it and said maybe that changed the result of the game, was the turnovers from the offense. So you're spot on. I don't think it falls necessarily in anybody's corner, if that makes sense. I don't, at least. And I'd be interested to hear some of your thoughts in the live chat or on the phone line again, 877-878-7683, around the turnovers. I don't think you can really put blame on Aaron Rodgers because just like MVS, you're not in that game without Aaron Rodgers. This is disappointing. This is bad. A lot needs to be addressed in the next, 30, 45 minutes. And we'll do it again on tomorrow's episode of the Pack-A-Day podcast with our friends over at Cheesehead TV. Excited to record that tonight because that's going to be a very great conversation with Andy Herman and Perry Goldstein. So looking forward to that as well. Curious on any of your thoughts surrounding the Packers' 34-31 loss. Feel free to chime in the live chat, shoot us a text, or give us a call at the number on the screen. And I guess where I want to go next is the running game. I want to address that just briefly. It was not very good today. Only 66 yards on the ground for Green Bay in comparison to Indianapolis's 140 yards on the ground. A little bit of a difference there. But I don't know. I think you still have to have these awkward conversations about what to do with the running backs next year. You've got Jamal Williams on a contract here. You've got Aaron Jones on a contract here. You've got Tyler Ervin on a contract here. You've got Dexter Williams on a contract here. Where do you give the money? And then on the offensive line, we saw Corey Linsley go down and Elton Jenkins make the adjustment to center. You're starting to really shape what the future of this Green Bay offense is going to look like in those particular situations. We saw Jamal Williams get in the end zone today. We saw Elton Jenkins do, from what I was able to tell in the one watch through, a pretty impressive job at center. And Elton Jenkins has played 4 of the 5 offensive line positions in a game this year. How insane is that? And, a heck of a note on his versatility. But one of the only positives, really, for the Packers in this loss, and this was a game that we walked into and thought maybe the Packers would struggle. We knew it was a good defense. We knew that they were going to bring it, and this was going to be a game that both teams were in. I don't think anybody expected a blowout from either team, although it really started to look like that in the second quarter. But this game was exactly what we expected it to be. We expected Matt LaFleur needed to show his cards. We expected that Matt LaFleur needed to show that he can make successful in-game adjustments. And I don't know how much we saw that. And Mike, and I mean, you could talk about Mike Pettin and Hack as well. And, the in-game adjustments they did or did not make. And Mike Pettin, while maybe he's learning, I think he's not making some mistakes maybe he would have earlier in the season. But again, the adjustments weren't made. They weren't made. And Indianapolis easily executed on this. I don't know if Green Bay was lucky this game got brought to overtime. They got lucky on some scenarios. What was it, like 15 freaking offensive holding calls for Indianapolis kept the Packers in this game. You're not in this game if that doesn't happen. So I'm just a little bit all over the place in terms of where I'm at with Green Bay, where I'm at with how this team ranks. I'm interested to hear from you. Where do you have the Packers in the NFC right now? I know this was an AFC opponent. I know, they're probably not going to see the Colts again unless for some reason they both get to the Super Bowl, which, given what we saw today out of Green Bay, I don't think that's happening this year. So be curious to know where you think the Packers rank in the NFC right now through 10 games. Where are the Packers in the NFC? Curious to get your thoughts on that. But we go to the phone line now. Yuck Nasty, is that correct? Yuck Nasty with me?
Yeah, man.
Hold on a minute, Yuck. Hold on. What the hell does Yuck Nasty mean? Break that down for me.
That's what?
What does Yuck Nasty mean?
That's my name, Yuck Nasty.
That's not your name.
Yeah, it is.
It's on your birth certificate.
No, man, not on my birth certificate.
What do you got, Yuck Nasty?
Hey, man, it was a good game, and you're right about MVS, man. I hope nobody put so much blame on him. That sucked. You could tell that it beat him up, too.
For sure.
And you're right. We wouldn't be in that game if it wasn't for MVS.
No, that game's a blowout without his contributions.
I know I wasn't supposed to swear. I'm sorry.
No, you're okay. You're right.
Man, at the end where he was, we were about to score that touchdown, and he kept looking for Devontae. He never took his eyes off Devontae, and Robert Tonyan was over there on the right side, wide open. That sucks, man.
Hits and misses, Yuck Nasty. Hits and misses throughout the board today. Appreciate you calling in. Yuck Nasty calling in. And you can do the same, 877-878-7683. Curious to get your thoughts about the Packers' loss to the Colts in overtime. And he's spot on, right? He acknowledged the fact you're not in that game if it's not for Marquez Valdes-Scantling. So although his fumble did prove crucial, it ultimately did lead to the end of the game and the Colts' victory. You're not in overtime if Marquez Valdes-Scantling didn't play the way he did. Just quickly to run over some of the stats, Aaron Rodgers was, for the most part, outside of those turnovers that we talked about with Bailey a few minutes ago, outside of those, he was pretty spectacular. 27 of 38, 311 yards, 3 touchdowns, and that interception. Only sacked once on the day. Marquez Valdes-Scantling, 3 catches of 55 yards on 6 targets. Davante Adams just did Davante Adams. 7 catches, 106 yards to go with a touchdown. PJ Hunter chiming in on terms of where do you see Green Bay in the NFC right now? He says 4th behind New Orleans, Tampa Bay, Rams, and Arizona. So does that make them 5th or does that make them 4th? Because he listed 4 teams, PJ. But I think, right, those are the names that you have to throw into the conversation. We saw what Tampa Bay was able to do to Green Bay earlier this year. We know that Arizona and Los Angeles, are talented football teams. We know they have the ability to, play in those big games and play with those big contenders. And New Orleans is the same thing. They're in the conversation every year. Green Bay was able to beat them earlier this year. We'll see if they'll get another opportunity to do that later down the road as we approach the looming playoffs. That said, though, I want to get to where I think they fit in, right? I think you named all of the teams in the NFC that could potentially be over them: New Orleans, Tampa Bay, Los Angeles, and Arizona. I would still have them at like 3rd behind Tampa Bay and New Orleans, maybe Seattle, probably Seattle, Tampa Bay. Even though we saw New Orleans beat Tampa Bay there's been more parity than we've ever seen this year in the National Football League. So to see different results that maybe you necessarily don't expect, like the Broncos over the Dolphins today, that's just normal in 2020. That's not abnormal to see weird results like that, because this really is the epitome of any given Sunday when you don't have fans in the stands. This is the epitome of any given Sunday here in 2020. So I do believe the Packers could make a run to the Super Bowl. I still believe that, but I don't expect it whatsoever. I think the Packers have shown us only that they're frauds through 10 games. I think they've only shown us that they are totally capable of severe heartbreakage. They have shown us that they're only capable of severe and utter disaster. Can they win games against crappy teams? Absolutely. But when they play a contender, when they play a team with an above 500 record, like Indianapolis, like Tampa Bay, they struggle. And they struggled against the 1-9 Jacksonville Jaguars a week ago. Are you expecting Green Bay to go to the Super Bowl? I'm not. I don't think there's a path that could be forged for Green Bay. However, I do understand that they have talent. It's just a matter of making adjustments down the road that they have not been able to correct and make so far this season. I think that has been the one thing Matt LaFleur has struggled with. When he loses, it looks really bad because the offense is not doing anything correct. And this was a closer score than what we've typically seen in Matt LaFleur era losses, but still as disappointing. The offense just barely on the field in the second half, and the defense can't get a stop on third down, it seems. So they were bailed out by holding calls to remain in that game, but the defense, nothing sexy. I thought Raven Green played well. I thought Adrian Amos played well. I thought a couple other guys played well, but nothing terribly fascinating on the defensive side of things. So still taking your phone calls, 877-878-7683. Producer Kyle standing by to take your calls, and we are talking about where Green Bay fits in the NFC right now. Are they in the same conversation as Seattle and Tampa Bay and New Orleans and Los Angeles and Arizona? I would imagine those are everybody's top 6 teams in the NFC, but where do the Packers rank in your opinion? I'd put them still top 3, but I don't know if we'll see, if we'll see them get that bye, or if we'll see them in the NFC Championship game, just given the results we've seen them put on the football field this year. And today's just another example of how excessively disappointing that break can be. That halftime break broke this game for the Packers. I mean, it took all momentum away, and it kept their defense on the field. So a lot went wrong for both the offense and the defense, and it led to a Packers loss, now 7-3. But producer Kyle is with us, as he always is, each and every Sunday. And I'm sure he's got some thoughts on the Packers' tough loss. So what's up, Kyle? How are you?
For those of you who watched Pulse of the Pack with Jason and Paul and Jacob, you would know that I predicted a Packers 27-21 loss to Indy, and
pretty close.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't expect the offense to have as great of a first half as they did. I expected what we saw in the second half, struggling to run the ball, the Colts handling time of possession, the Colts running backs didn't know which one was going to go off. It just so happened to be Wisconsin legend Jonathan Taylor that went off. But
here's the thing, Kyle, real quick, while you're on that note, I just want to point this out, right? This is the game that the Packers should have had against the Jaguars. We were saying last week how the offense was flat, how they looked lost, they looked flat, they weren't able to put up points, and they put up 28 in the first half against a team we're saying has the best defense in the National Football League. This is the game they should have had against the Jags, or at least the first half they should have had against the Jags.
It's a week-to-week league, and I know how cliche and how boring that sounds, but, I mean, you look at, even the Steelers, too, who struggled against Garrett freaking Gilbert, and they come out and drop they win 27-3 against the Jags. It's a week-to-week league. Your schemes are different. Your team is different. Who you have available is different. Obviously, the Packers got back, some huge pieces on defense and Allen Lazard on offense, and that contributed greatly in the first half when the defense was, playing well. Offense was on fire. But I went into the half confident. I mean, we were up 28-14. We had gotten that touchdown right before the break when, the Colts driven down. They got their second touchdown, and the hope was, maybe the Packers can get a field goal and go up 10 before half. Well, they ended up getting a freaking touchdown because the offense was on fire, and I'm feeling confident in this. And then it all fell apart in the second half. And what I saw in the second half was what I had expected to see from Green Bay and Indianapolis the entire game.
Yeah, definitely I'm just so confused, Kyle. Again, my brain feels like it's mush. I feel like I've just been put through the longest movie of all time that's not actually that good. And I'm just like coming off the popcorn and soda hangover when I'm leaving the theater right now. Yeah. I'm lost. I'm really confused about what I just watched.
What we watched was the Packers, refusing to make any adjustments going into the second half. They thought that they could continue playing the same ball that they could play in the first half, and 9 times out of 10 it doesn't work. Case in point, what we just saw happen over the last 4 hours. And it's tough because it's just another one of those games where it's a not, like you said before, it's not a Matt LaFleur-esque kind of loss. It's more of a Mike McCarthy-esque loss. I'll throw that out there. More of a
Ooh, okay.
So
okay. Yeah.
I mean, the Packers, they break your heart. They break your heart. They give you a little bit of hope. I mean, we were sitting here watching the final, in final minutes of the fourth quarter and then the overtime, and you saw me get excited for the Christian Kirksey scoop and score that was ultimately called back, which I agree was the right call. I believe that his hand was moving forward, and that was not a fumble by any means. Tom Brady, you could thank Tom Brady for that call there.
Yeah, you could thank Tom Brady.
But one thing I want to point out here, two interesting stats here from our friends at ESPN. First one, when Rodgers is leading a team by 14-plus points versus everybody else in the NFL, all other 30 teams, he's 95-2 when leading by 14-plus all time. Mm-hmm. Against the Colts, he's 1-2.
Really?
Yeah. So obviously they lost today when they were up 28-14, and back in 2012 when they lost to Andrew Luck in his rookie season. And I also want to point out from our friend Rob Domofsky, Aaron Rodgers, and I know quarterbacks, win-loss isn't a quarterback stat, but I'm going to just throw it in here anyway because I think it's a good stat. Aaron Rodgers is now 2-8-1 in overtime games in his career. He's only attempted 17 passes in overtime in those games. He's lost 4 times without even getting the ball, and 3 times in overtime getting a loss via an offensive turnover that wasn't his fault, like we saw today with MVS. So some kind of eye-opening stats from our friends at ESPN there.
And how about one more little stat that came out of this game today? Get this, Kyle. With the Colts win over the Green Bay Packers, wait for it. The New York Jets have been eliminated from playoff contention.
Yes.
How awesome is that? Really, I had to make it this year, Kyle.
Well, I would have wanted to know if the Colts would have lost today, what was the path to the playoffs for the Jets?
They have to win out, and every other AFC East team probably has to lose out. Excuse me.
I guess. But I mean, if the Jets were playing in the NFC East, they're only 3 games back from a freaking winning the division.
Yeah.
In the NFC East. So, or as many people have called the NFC least now, which I think is a stupid name. So I'm not going to say it anymore. But yeah, that is random. Thank you. I like random stats are my forte. So thank you.
Random stats are your forte. I want to look at what I just saw a comment. Now I lost it. Carter Dashlet earlier. He said it also didn't help. We never had the ball in the second half. And look, this is how we got there, right? This is how you stay on the field. Is you can't get a damn stop, and then Darius Shepard fumbles a kickoff return, and they score another touchdown, and they're scoring points, and all of a sudden you're saying, what happened to a 14-point lead? It was disgraceful. It was unacceptable. It was ridiculous. I'm so sick of this defense not being able to make stops. It's Phillip Rivers, dude. It's not like Russell Wilson. It's not Patrick Mahomes. It's Phillip Rivers.
It was Phillip Rivers on one leg. The dude was injured for the majority of the game. Yeah, he got injured by Darius Smith.
When he was blocking him, he injured his old brittle body. And
keep in mind, Phillip Rivers did play a playoff game with a torn ACL. So.
That's true. He's a tough SOB. 24 of 36, 288, 3 touchdowns, and 1 interception. Almost identical lines for the quarterbacks today. Aaron Rodgers, QBR, just a little bit higher than Phil Rivers today, but both really, really solid games from both quarterbacks. And, they're both great quarterbacks. They're both historically great quarterbacks, but doesn't mean it's not unacceptable from the Green Bay Packers defense. When you are up 28-14 at halftime and you allow 17 unanswered and cannot get off the damn field, there's a lot of things that need to be fixed, and it's not just the defensive coordinator. That's also a personnel issue.
No, you can't put the blame on just Pettin. I mean, he's not the only issue. Matt LaFleur says the issue would be to bring your own juice, and for that, I have a response to the bring your own juice, Matt LaFleur. Hold on just a moment.
Oh, boy. Notice there is a fridge right there. Notice.
Matt LaFleur, I brought my own freaking juice today. Pulp-free orange juice. I brought it. Your defense didn't bring it.
They didn't. They didn't at all. Kyle brought his juice. Kyle's bringing the juice for the guys on the defense. Raven Green brought his juice, but that was it.
I brought my juice. The defense did not, and I'm sick and tired of hearing that they bring their own juice or it was a bad week at practice. Those are bad excuses. I'm done now. I'm sorry.
Well, there's a lot of season left. There's a lot more to do, but 7-3 is a kind of a tough position because 13-3, I imagine, will be the lowest record you can have and get that 1 seed. Maybe 12-4 might slide for that 1 seed, but I doubt it.
It does help that they have that tiebreaker over New Orleans. I think the race comes down ultimately to New Orleans and Green Bay for the 1 seed. The NFC West, they play so much. They play each other so much. They're going to beat up on each other. I think you're going to get a team that goes 11-5 that wins the NFC West.
Yeah.
Don't know who it is. You can make a great case for, everyone besides the 49ers who probably aren't going to make the playoffs.
No.
By the way, I remember you predicted earlier in the summer that you said the Niners wouldn't make the playoffs. So congrats to you on that.
I did. Yeah. I did say that. Yeah. I didn't anticipate the injuries, obviously. I think the race
comes down to New Orleans and Green Bay for the 1 seed. Green Bay obviously has to. What?
No case for Seattle?
Their defense is even worse than Green Bay's. And to be worse than Green Bay's defense is
that's true.
Hats off to you. You got a shitty defensive coordinator. I think it comes down to the New Orleans and Green Bay. I mean, you could throw Tampa Bay in there as well, but Green Bay's schedule gets really easy. The hardest game they have left on the schedule is Tennessee at home, week 16. Next week they have Chicago. Then they have Philadelphia, who just lost to the Browns today in a really crappy game. They play the Bears twice. They play the Lions again. They don't have to play the Vikings, and the Vikings are, they've gotten hot over the last month. So the schedule does get easy. I believe the Packers might have the easiest schedule going forward as far as, opponents' win-loss percentage. So it gets easy for Green Bay.
I don't know about that because Carolina's decent. They won again today. Tennessee's record is pretty good. Isn't Chicago still over or just near 500?
Yeah, I might be wrong on that. But I
don't think you're right on that.
I might be wrong on that. My bad. My apologies. I'm wrong very often. But yeah, I think because
the East must have a much easier schedule somewhere.
Whatever. Because Green Bay beat New Orleans, that's huge. Because if both teams finish 13-3, which I know right now we're talking about a loss, but that could legitimately happen where the Packers, to quote Aaron Rodgers, they run the table and they go 13-3, they don't lose again this season. And, the Saints go 13-3. There's your Packers are the 1 seed based off of the head-to-head tiebreaker. So there you go. And keep in mind, New Orleans has to, or no, they don't have to play Tampa Bay again. Never mind. But they still play Atlanta. I believe they play Carolina, who's not a bad team at all. NFC South is much tougher than the NFC North. So,
Yeah, no, 100%, 100%.
I think you can still make the case for the Packers being the 1 seed, even though it doesn't look like it today and they don't necessarily deserve it. The schedule opens up. Anything can happen.
Man. Yeah, I think you could still make the case, but it's going to be tough, Kyle. It's going to be tough. I don't think they're going to lose one division game. And I know they already did, but I think they're going to lose one more. Go 6-2 in the division. You've got 2 losses outside of the division now to Tampa Bay, and now obviously today against Indianapolis. 11-5, 12-4.
No, I mean you could legitimately see it. I mean, it's so tough to read.
Go 4-2 in your last 6.
It's so tough to read this team because you just don't know what team you're going to get week to week. You could get a team that came out, offense was blazing the first 4 weeks of the season. Or you could get the team that we've seen the last 4 weeks, and you get, meet up barely above average offensive play, horrible on defense. You just don't know what team you're going to get. I mean, this team has the tools and the personnel to get hot late, but you just don't know.
Mm-hmm.
You just don't know.
Fair enough. All right, let's do a quick run through around the NFL, and then we will wrap up here on the post-round on Game On Wisconsin. You're home for a bunch of Packers content and independent content creators. The Cowboys topped the Vikings in let's just leave it at that. 31-28.
Cowboys, nothing like it.
Yeah. 22-17 as the Browns roll over the Eagles for the first time, I think maybe ever. The Browns are 7-3 on the year. They are rolling lately, are the Browns. Taysom Hill got his first win as a starter. 24-9 was the final as New Orleans tops Atlanta.
I know Jacob Westendorf loves the Taysom Hill. He's undefeated as a starter in the NFL.
Former Packer. The football team beat the Bengals 20-9. The Bengals now 2-7-1 on the year, and unfortunately, Joe Burrow has been lost for the remainder of the season.
That's tough. Yeah, I mean,
that's tough.
I don't think he was going to win Rookie of the Year. I think Justin Herbert almost has that
I agree.
Locked up now. But I think coming into it, good opportunity to win it. And it sounds like there might be even more on top of the ACL injury, but nothing is confirmed on that. But he's going to be the future of the NFL. It's Joe Burrow, and he had a lot of promise in his first 10 games. And
he still does. I'm sure he'll be back and make a good case for comeback player of the year next year. The Panthers topped the Lions 20-0. They blanked them. And PJ Walker, XFL legend, gets his first win.
PJ Walker. The XFL won't die.
Yes, it will. The Steelers beat the Jags. They are now 10-0 on the season. 27-3 is the final in that one. Ben Roethlisberger, 267 yards and 2 touchdowns. Deontay Johnson had 12 catches for 111 yards. Quick math, that's a 23.1 fantasy points in PPR leagues. The Ravens lost again. They're 6-4 now as the Titans roll 30-24 in overtime. They score a walk-off touchdown in OT to win that one. The Titans now 7-3 on the year. The Texans top the Patriots. As Bill Belichick is 4-6 through 10 games. I imagine that cannot be the first time ever.
Do the Patriots have a run the table? And then the Packers were 4-6 when in the run the table season. Can they win? Can they pull off 6 straight?
I think so. I think if there's a team that can do it.
My money's on no.
I mean, my money's also on no, but I imagine if there's a team that can do it, it's Bill Belichick and company. The Broncos got a big win over the Miami Dolphins, 20-13, the final. Tua Tagovailoa benched in this game for Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Over.
Brian Flores has said Tua will be the starter next week.
Well, that sucks. As much as I love Tua Tagovailoa, I mean, Ryan Fitzpatrick is just a legend in his own right, and I love Ryan Fitzpatrick.
And Justin Herbert got a win today, 366 yards and 3 touchdowns through the air. The Chargers top the Jets, who again have been eliminated from the playoffs, first team in the National Football League to do that because they are at an NFL league worst record of 0-10. And if I didn't mention that, Chargers at 3-7 now on the year. So that will about do it for us. Disappointing loss for the Packers again, 34-31. The final as Indianapolis rolls at home. The Packers offense, essentially non-existent in the second half. Very good in the first half, minus the turnover troubles that we saw. But turnovers ultimately lead to the Packers' loss. My brain is a jumble. I mean, it is mush. I feel exhausted. This was something.
It's hard to say. I mean, because the Packers had success on offense, way more success than I had thought. I mean, like I said, only predicted they would only put up 21 points in a loss. They put up 31 and still a loss.
Right.
They looked better than I thought in the first half, and then they looked like how I thought they would in the second half. So it's hard. It's hard to read this team, plain and simple. It's hard to predict how they're going to do. They could come out next week against Chicago and absolutely lay an egg because the Chicago's defense is, top 5 in the league, but the Bears' offense is crap. I can see the Packers' offense or the Packers' defense absolutely. Maybe letting David Montgomery run for 150 yards in 2 seconds.
I don't know David Montgomery, but definitely Derrick Henry. Yeah.
Well, I never know with this defense. You just don't know. You can't read this team, and that could be a good thing or that could be a bad thing depending on what your perspective is.
No, that's totally fair.
Yeah. So I know it's just kind of a cop-out answer, but I don't know what to take away from today's game just because I don't know how to think. I don't know how to feel. I know I feel sad because they lost, but I don't know what to think about this team because you don't know what you're gonna get week in and week out.
Hey man, get this back on track after a 4-point victory over the Jaguars a week ago, and now a loss to Indianapolis this week by 3. It's been a rough couple of weeks for Green Bay, no doubt about it. So they're looking to get back on track against their biggest rival next Sunday night on Sunday Night Football. We appreciate you stopping by tonight and breaking this down with us, going through the motions of the freshness of this loss. It definitely sucks. I said that earlier, and I'll double down on that. But appreciate you stopping by. That's Producer Kyle. Appreciate your time, buddy, as always. And we will do it again next week. Peace.